Joining us now is Brendan Carr, Commissioner of the FCC and soon to be Chairman of the FCC. Congratulations, Brendan. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much, Charlie. And obviously, first of all, thank you so much to you and to the entire movement you build. I mean, the listeners here probably don't need me to say that, but you have helped to fundamentally reshape not just the conservative movement, but now Washington, D.C. itself. And it's time for people to come into the administration, President Trump's administration, that are fully 100% aligned, that are on board, and that are going to deliver on all of these ideas that you have championed, that President Trump has championed. And so thanks again. I mean, you had me on way back in the day when I was a backbencher commissioner. And so really appreciate your long-term support for these FCC issues and how you've highlighted them. It's made a big difference.
Well, we've always had your back, and I played, almost a nothing role, but I did advocate for you with the boss. So
absolutely,
for whatever that's worth. So congratulations. So just educate our audience. Let's just start with first principles. What is the FCC? What role are you assuming, and what do you oversee?
Yeah, so the FCC is a 5-member commissioner. So right now there's 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans. I'm the senior Republican, and the FCC oversees everything from the wireless industry to the broadcast media industry. We are tasked with ending the digital divide, extending broadband to rural America, efforts of which have stalled drastically under the Biden-Harris administration. We're charged with a national security docket. We've taken action on things like Huawei and ZTE at the hardware level. And for me, first steps as President Trump has designated me as chair is to get with his team and make sure that there's 100% understanding what his agenda is. After all, he's the one that's been elected at the end of the day. And for starters, for me, it's a couple things. One, it's going to be tech censorship. We absolutely have to smash the censorship cartel. There's going to be a role for the FCC there for sure. We're going to need other agencies and Congress's help as well. The second piece is taking a look at the broadcast media industry. Broadcasters are specially situated. They're not like any other speaker that's out there. They have a license from the federal government. And with that free license comes some benefits and some burdens. And one thing they have to do is operate in the public interest, not a narrow agenda, the public interest. And we're going to hold them to that. And we're going to reinvigorate it. And the third piece is unleashing economic opportunity. When President Trump came in 2017, we were behind on 5G. We were behind on rural broadband. And he turned things around. We know how to do it. We're going to do it again. We're going to unleash private sector builds. We're going to get the space economy going. Whether it's Elon Musk's Starlink or other providers, they've been completely hamstrung by the government the last 4 years. They've succeeded nonetheless, but we're going to let the private sector cook, and it's going to be really good for the economy and for jobs.
I love it, and so thank you for that explanation. Now let's get into a controversial issue, but not really. I am of the opinion that we should enter the rest of the industrialized world. Every other country other than New Zealand does not allow pharmaceutical advertisements on TV. I think it is bad for media. I think it undermines the integrity of journalism when it comes to public health. I also think it's unnecessary. If you need a drug, why do you need it broadcast to you with these ridiculous B-rolls of people running through a meadow? Why won't the doctor know what is best for you? Why is this incessant the drug culture that we see necessary? I don't think it's good for the society. I think it should be banned. That's just Charlie Kirk's opinion. Let's play Cut 69 on just a short montage of how your nightly news is purchased by Big Pharma. Play Cut 69.
CBS Health Watch, sponsored by Pfizer. Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer. Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
Your reaction, Brendan.
Look, if I ever needed to know how to throw a tight spiral through a tire swing or figure out a good location to put a bathtub overlooking a cliff, then those pharma ads would probably be helpful. My own personal view is, look, this is a longer discussion, but I think we're way too medicated in this country, and there's precedent for doing exactly what you're talking about. 1970, President Nixon signed a law to ban cigarette advertising. on the nation's airwaves. It went into effect in January of 1971, and the FCC helps enforce that. I think that could be a path forward for the FCC. So maybe it's HHS, maybe it's Congress. We need potentially probably have to have some sort of law, again, either HHS or otherwise passed to address pharma ads. And then the FCC would be well positioned to help enforce that. And I think that's an idea that's a really good one. And we should all be looking at ways to do it.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think that the ramifications of this, of having pharmaceutical advertisements is so negative. So what would the process look like to say that you are not allowed to advertise prescription drugs on television? What would that look like?
The process that's been used before has been a two-step process, which was, in that context, it was a law passed by Congress that sort of made those types of advertisements effectively illegal on broadcast medium. And then the FCC can step in based on that and take action. My guess is we'll probably need some sort of two-step. Maybe that first step could come from an HHS determination rather than from Congress itself. But I think it would require that type of two-step process. But we'll see where HHS goes. We'll see where Congress goes. But again, I think as a nation, we're just way too medicated right now. I mean, mental health is at an all-time low, and advertisements for Big Pharma are at an all-time high. Something is not working there.
Without a doubt. Brendan, what are some of the other big battles that you are having at the FCC to maintain freedom of speech, but also make sure that we're not living under a permanent corporate oligarchy?
Yeah, I mean, the tech censorship has got to be a top priority here. I wrote a letter about a week ago to the CEOs of some of the largest tech companies, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Meta. And I made a lot of points there, but the narrow point was about this outfit called NewsGuard. And I can't remember how much you've dealt with them before, but they hold themselves out as the internet's fact checker and sort of the arbiter of truth, which is, it'd be funny if it weren't so damaging. But remember, NewsGuard has on their board of advisors at least one person that signed on to the Hunter Biden laptop story that itself spread a consequential set of misinformation stories. The reporting is that they rate CCP propaganda as more reliable than U.S. publication. They're under investigation right now by House committees for impact on free speech, and the list goes on and on. And so what I said to these tech companies is, look, you've enjoyed these special protections, Section 230, but under the statute, 230 only applies if you are operating as relevant here in good faith. That's a statutory term. People can get mad. You shouldn't be making good faith decisions. Okay, Congress said it, good faith. So my question for them is, how can you continue to rely on this outfit called NewsGuard for content moderation or otherwise when they're clearly engaged in such concerning conduct and spreading of misinformation? So I want them to be clear that, if they keep relying on NewsGuard for anything, they are really putting their Section 230 liability protections at risk. And I've asked for responses by them in the next couple of weeks. First of all, just so I can understand all of the webs in which NewsGuard is involved, whether it's search or app stores, AI. I mean, Microsoft has some sort of deep AI relationship with NewsGuard. And again, it's the tip of the iceberg, but it's a piece of this broader censorship cartel. Some of it is individual decisions that, Facebook and others have made, but it's more than that. It's advertising agencies, it's marketing agencies, it's European government outfits. So we're going to do some pinpricks, but at the same time, we've got to try to get this whole thing root and branch, because free speech is just the cornerstone of democracy. We've seen this massive surge in censorship. And for people that are going to try to censor the rights of everyday Americans, I'm going to stand in the way.